Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 1. Brahmovacha. Iti tad gunatam tesham muninam yoga dharminam pratinandya jagadedam vikuntilyo vibhu.
Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is the kingdom of God, spoke as follows.
Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Eto to parshado mahyam jayo vijaya evacha kadarthi krutyam mam yadvo brahmakara tama tikramam.
The Personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jaya and Vijaya, by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me.
Text 3. Could you scroll up, please? Yastava etayor brto dando bhavade ram anuvartaiha sa eva numato smabhir munayo deva helenat.
O great sages, I approve of the punishment that you who are devoted to me have meted out to them.
Text 4. Tadvaha prasad dayami adya brahma devam param hime tadhitya atma kritam manye yatsva punabhir asat kritah.
To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen.
Text 5. Yannamani cha grahanati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhu vadastat kirtim hanti tvacham iva mahyam.
A wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin.
Text 6. Yasyamrita layashaha shravanavagaha sadhyam punati jagat ashvapachad vikuntaha soham bhavatya upalada sutra tha kirtis chindyam swabahum apiva pratikula vratim.
Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Gandhala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes bath in hearing through the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without doubt, therefore I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you.
Text 7. Yat sevaya charana padma pavitra renum sadhya kshatakila malam prati labha silam na srir viraktam api mam vijayahati yashya preksha lavartha itare niyamam vahanti.
The Lord continued, Because I am the servitor of my devotees, my lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wipe out all sin, and I have acquired such a disposition that the goddess of fortune does not leave me, even though I have no attachment for her, while others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure from her even a slight favor.
Text 8. Naham tatha me yajamana havirve dane shcho tadruta plutamadana hotamu mukhena brahmanyasya mukhatcharo tonodasam tushtasya maya avahitair nija karma pakei.
I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrifice in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths, which the same relish as with the same relish I do the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouths of the brahmanas who have dedicated to me the results of their activities and who are ever satisfied with my prasada.
Text 9. Yesham bibarmi aham akhanda Vikuntha yoga maya vibhutir amalangari raja kirtaye vipram stuko na vishaheta yad arhanam baha sadhya punati saha Chandra lalama lokam.
I am the master of my unobstructed eternal energy, and the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. That water sanctifies the three worlds along with Lord Shiva, who bears it on his head. If I can take the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on my head, who will refuse to do the same?
Text 10. Yeme tanur dvija vara duhatir madhya bhutani alabha saranani cha veda buddhya drakshinti agha shatadrusho hi abhimanya vastam grudra rusa mama kushanti adhi dana netu.
The brahmanas, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture-like messengers of Yamraj, the superintendent of sinful persons.
Text 11. Ye brahmanam mai piyo kshipato rachayantas tusyad drda smita sudokshita padma vakraha vanya nuraga kalayat majavat grunataha sambodhayanti aham ivaham uparharataste.
On the other hand, they captivate my heart, who are gladdened in heart and who, their lotus faces enlightened by nectarian smiles, respect the Brahmanas, even though the Brahmanas utter harsh words. They look upon the Brahmanas as my own self and pacify them by praising them in loving words, even as a son would appease an angry father, or as I am pacifying you.
Text 12. Tanme sva bhartur avashayam alaksha manu yashmad vyati karma gatim pratipadya sadya Bio mama tikam itam tad anugraho me yat kalpantam achir rato bratyar vivasha saha.
These servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favour done to me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of their transgression, they may return to my presence soon, and the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long.
Text 13. Brahmavacha atha tasyo shatim devim rishi kulyam sarasvatim narvadaya manyu dashatanam tesham atyampi atrapyata.
Brahma continued, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not saturated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns.
Text 14. Satim vyadaya shrinvanto lagvim guru artha gahvaram vighaya gagadha gagbhiram navidus tak chikir sitam.
The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well, but although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do.
Text 15. Te yoga mayayar abda parmestya mahodayam procho pranjalayo vipraha praharstaha kshpita tvacha.
The four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed their multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yoga Maya.
Text 16. Rishya Vacha Navayam Bhagavan Vidmas Tava Deva Chikishitam Kruto me Nugrahas Cheti Yad Abhi Yakshaha Prabha Sase.
The sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as we had done something good for you.
Text 17.
That's it. Mataji, is text 16, or do you want us to carry on?
No, it's up to 18. So
Okay.
you finish
No problem.
17 and 18. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Brahma Yasya Praham Daivam Brahmanan Kilate Prabho Vipanam Devadevanam Bhagavana Atma Devatam.
O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahmanical culture. Your considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipful deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also.
Text 18. Tvata Sanatano Dharmo Rakshyate Tanubhistava Dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikaro bhavan mata.
You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you've always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible, unchangeable, eternally.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Falguni Mataji and Girish Prabhuji, for your nice recitations. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Vrindavan Chandra Prabhuji has just joined us. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, over to you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for your attendance today's session. Today we will be continuing with our discussion of the 16th chapter of the Bhagavatam, and we'll be covering verses 13 to 18. Thank you, Prabhu and Mataji, for your nice recitation. We'll start off like we always do with the Mangala Charanam prayers. Please feel free to join in, be unmuted mics. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Satidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyacha Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Text number 13 to 18. Just a quick recap. The context of this verse is after the Kumaras had been offended by the Lord's servants Jai and Vijay. The Lord took it as if he himself had offended the Kumaras, and he appeared in the scene in the most beautiful way, and he had spoken to the Kumaras, basically apologizing for the offense. Actually, the Lord went much further than apologizing. He said he was ready to cut off his hand to make up for the offense. And after the Lord had spoken this beautiful response to the Kumaras, in this verse, starting verse number 13, we see how they respond. Very interesting. How do they respond to the Lord's reaction? So this is Lord Brahma who is narrating, he's speaking. Brahma uvacha atatasyo shatim devim rishikulyam sarasvatim nasvadya manyudastanam tesham atmapi atripyata. Brahma continued, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satiated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns. So, in their anger, the Kumaras had cursed Jai and Vijay. But by hearing the words of the Lord, their hearts became completely satiated, meaning satisfied. And these sages, they were very accustomed to hearing the Vedic hymns. And it's interesting that they say here, Lord Brahma is saying here, that they were experiencing the Lord's words like the Vedic hymns. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedant Vid Vedakrit Aham Eva Vedya. That he is the Vedas. Everything that the Lord speaks is Vedic, completely Vedic knowledge. So, hearing the Lord speak, for them it was like hearing the Vedic hymns. We know in the Brahma Samhita, it is said in the spiritual world, every word is a song, every step is a dance, all water tastes like nectar. So, when we say the Bhagavad Gita, Gita means song, and Bhagavat means Bhagavan. So Bhagavad Gita is the song of God. So when Krishna speaks, it is simply like hymns. It's just like flowing hymns. And this is what the four Kumaras were experiencing by hearing the Lord address them. Text number 14.
Miriam.
Satim Vyadaya Shrinvanto Lagvim Guru Varta Gavaram Vigai Ya Gadha Gambiram Navidustat Chikir Shitam. The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do. Purport. It should be understood that no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead in speaking. There is no difference between the Supreme Person and his speeches, for he stands on the absolute platform. The sages tried with wide open ears to understand the words from the lips of the Supreme Lord. But although his speech was very concise and meaningful, the sages could not completely comprehend what he was saying. They could not even comprehend the purport of this speech, what the Lord wanted to do, or what the Lord wanted to do. Nor could they understand whether the Lord was angry or pleased with them. So after hearing the Lord, let's make sure that everyone's muted. So after hearing the Lord, the four Kumaras, they were completely bewildered. They couldn't comprehend what the Lord had actually spoken. And they couldn't understand its intention. Was the Lord angry? Was he pleased? Was he feeling repentful? And in the purport, Prabhupada says something very significant. Prabhupada says, the speaking of the Lord is not different from the Lord himself. Because on the absolute platform, there is no difference. So just like it is completely impossible to understand Krishna, to understand the Lord. In the same way, it is, because they are non-different, it is impossible for one to understand and comprehend the words of the Lord. And this is what the Kumaras were experiencing, the non-different nature of the Lord's words. But as we know, that Tesham Satatam Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Tadami Yudi Buddhiyogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. Krishna says, Pritipurvakam, one who has love in their heart, he gives them the understanding. So it seems like the Lord had not given the Kumaras the full understanding. So they were still trying to figure out what the Lord was saying, the meaning. So this is the nature of the Lord. Prabhupada says, no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead in speaking. When Krishna speaks, every single word of the Lord is full of deep meaning, multiple meanings. And it's not easy to understand. Therefore, scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita, there are people who studied it for their whole lives, but still the real meaning of the Lord's words evades them, their understanding. Because that prerogative to reveal its meaning is the Lord's. Therefore, it is said, spiritual knowledge can never be achieved. It can only be revealed. It can only be revealed. So we can try to comprehend, but if Krishna is merciful to us, then we can get some understanding. Text number 15. Te yoga maya ya rabda param meshtai mestya mahodayam prachur pranjalayo vipraha Prarishta Shubhita Tvachaha. The four Brahmana sages, were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his internal potency, Yogamaya. Purport. The sages were almost too puzzled to speak before the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the first time, and the hairs on their bodies stood erect due to their extreme joy. The highest opulence in the material world is called Param Mestya, the opulence of Brahma. But that material opulence of Brahma, who lives on the topmost planet within this material world, cannot compare to the opulence of the Supreme Lord, because the transcendental opulence in the spiritual world is caused by Yogamaya, whereas the opulence in the material world is caused by Mahamaya. So the sages, they wanted to speak before the Lord, but it was not an easy task. When one has the experience of the personal darshan of the Lord, or hearing from the Lord, one experiences transcendental ecstasy. We see a similar situation taking place in the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj, he performed all of these austerities, and then the Lord appeared before him. And after he had beheld the presence of the Lord, he wanted to offer some nice words in glorification of the Lord. But no words would come out of his mouth. And then the Lord, seeing the poor condition of Dhruva, he took his conch shell and he touched the head of Dhruva with his conch shell. And then, having been benedicted by the Lord, Dhruva was able to offer very nice words in glorification. The verse says here, and Prabhupada expands onto it, that the glories of the Lord were revealed through his internal potency, Yogamaya. So we understand from the Shastras that there are two types of Maya, Mahamaya and Yogamaya. Mahamaya operates in the material world, and Yogamaya operates in the spiritual world, or in the spiritual realm. So through the potency of the Lord's internal energy, his glories were revealed to the four Kumaras. And again, we see, descriptions of the ecstasy here. Prarishta, Shubhita, Tvachaha, extremely delighted, hair standing on end. So they were trying to glorify the Lord, while at the same time experiencing this ecstasy. And those two things don't go well together. I'm saying things, it's actually not an apt description. When the devotees of the Lord become stunned, they can't speak. In Prabhupada Lilamrita, there is descriptions of Srila Prabhupada really going into ecstasy, and he would very occasionally. And when Prabhupada went into ecstasy, he would not be able to speak. He would just tell the devotees, start kirtan, because choking up is one of the symptoms of ecstasy. So the Kumaras are going through all of these emotions. Text number 16. Rishaya Uchaha Navayam Bhagavans Vidmas Tavadeva Chikirsitam Krito Menu Grahascheti Yadaksha Ajaksha Prabhasase. The sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you. Purport. The sages could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is above everyone, was speaking as if he were in the wrong. Therefore, it was difficult for them to understand the words of the Lord. They could understand, however, that the Lord was speaking in such a humble way just to show them his all merciful favor. So yeah, the Kumaras, they are like bewildered. They can't figure out what was the Lord saying, what was his intention. But one thing they understood, that the Lord was acting in a humble way just to show them his all merciful favor. So we know from the pastimes of the Lord, especially there's one pastime where one sage had cursed Garuda. When someone curses the Lord's devotees, he is not at all pleased. In this instance, the Lord is taking a very humble position in that he's taking responsibility for his servants. And he is practically apologizing. He's apologizing to the sages. So although they could not understand the words of the Lord, they had this one primary understanding, that the Lord was showing them mercy. The Lord was showing them mercy. And how do they figure that out? By the Lord being humble. The Lord is being humble. So let's carry on, because more and more will be revealed. Text number 17. Brahmanyasya param daivim vam brahmana kilapte prabho vipranam deva devanam bhagavan atma devatam. O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahmanical culture. Your considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Lord Vishnu is the Lord of Brahma and Shiva, not to speak of the Brahmanas in this material world. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord is very favorable towards all activities performed according to Brahmanical culture, or the qualities of control of the mind and senses, cleanliness, forbearance, faith in scripture, and practical and theoretical knowledge. The Lord is the supersoul of everyone. In Bhagavad Gita, he said that the Lord is the source of all emanations. Thus, he is also the source of Brahma and Shiva. So, what is the point that Srila Prabhupada is making in the purport? Prabhupada is focusing on this statement by the Kumaras that actually you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also. So the Lord, he is the worshipable deity even for Brahma and Shiva. So what to speak of the Brahmanas? So Lord Brahma, he is the best of the Brahmanas, and Lord Shiva also. So if they worship the Lord as the supreme worshipable deity, the Brahmanas also worship the Lord. That's the point that Srila Prabhupada is making. That although the Lord, the most worshipable deity, he is worshipping the Brahmanas. And why is the Lord doing that? Because, according to the verse, because he wants to teach by example. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, whatever a great man performs, the common men follow. So the Lord, in all circumstances, he acts in a way to set the example. And yet the Lord is showing that the Brahmanas should be worshipped. Text number 18. Twataha sanatano dharmo raksyate tanubhistava dharmasya paramo guyo nirvikaro bhavan mataha. You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme object of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. Purport. The statement in this verse, Dharmasya Paramo Guyaha, refers to the most confidential part of all religious principles. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of Lord Krishna and his advice to Arjuna is, give up all other religious engagement and just surrender unto me. This is the most confidential knowledge in executing religious principles. In the Bhagavatam also it is stated that if one does not become Krishna conscious, after very rigidly executing one's specified religious duties, all his labor in following so-called religious principles is simply a waste of time. Yea, also the sages confirm the statement that the Supreme Lord, not the demigods, is the ultimate goal of all religious principles. There are many foolish propagandists who say that the worship of the demigods is also a way to reach the supreme goal. But in the authorized statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, this is not accepted. Bhagavad Gita says that one who worships a particular demigod can reach the demigod's planet, but one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead can enter into Vaikuntha. Some propagandists say that regardless of what one does, he will ultimately reach the supreme abode of the Personality of Godhead. But this is not valid. The Lord is eternal. The Lord's servitor is eternal. And the Lord's abode is also eternal. They are all described here as sanatana, or eternal. The result of devotional service, therefore, is not temporary, as is the achievement of heavenly planets by worshipping the demigods. The sages wanted to stress that although the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, says that he worships the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, actually the Lord is worshipable not only by the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, but also by the demigods. So Prabhupada is revealing something important in this purport about the mode of the four Kumaras in their response. It is a natural tendency of the conditioned soul when they are given some prominence or praise is to internalize that prominence or praise and to become proud. So the Kumaras, they've just been glorified by the Lord as being worshipable. But they are trying to check any tendency to be bewildered by what the Lord is saying, by recognizing that the demigods, who are, so to speak, even greater than the Brahmanas, they worship the Lord. The Lord is their worshipable deity. So the Brahmanas, they worship the Lord. Although Krishna is saying here that the Brahmanas are worshipable, they are not trying to internalize those words, but they are recognizing that it is Krishna, it is the Lord who is the worshipable personality. And Prabhupada says in the beginning of the purport, Guya. Guya means confidential. Dharmasya paramo guyaha. The most confidential, the highest part of Dharma, aspect of Dharma is what? Is devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the most confidential. So unless one takes to pure devotional service, one has not understood the most confidential part of Dharma. Unless one becomes a devotee, one has not entered real Dharma. Because para, as the sages in Naimisharanya, when they were asked what is the ultimate good for everyone, they said savai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhakti adakshaje ahoituki apratiyata yayatma suprasidati. That the highest dharma is the devotional service of the Lord. And in order to completely satisfy the self, yayatma suprasidati, that service needs to be unmotivated and uninterrupted. So anyone who advocates, as Srila Prabhupada says, anything short of the highest dharma, which is surrender to Krishna in the form of devotional service, they are propagandists who have not really understood what is Dharma or Sanatana Dharma. Hare Krishna. I think I should stop here. It's 5 minutes past past, gone a little over. So I stop here. Dear devotees, please share your realizations, your thoughts, your reflections on this response of the Kumaras to the Lord. What do you take away in these 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, these 6 verses that we read today? What do you take away from the way these sages have responded? This is how we study Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. We hear and we try to see how that applies in our own lives. Anyone has a particular takeaway?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Um,
Shubha.
I just want to ask you something about praying to demigods and Lord Krishna himself. Being brought up in a family where demigods were always so prayed to, and the parents used to say, when you pray to demigods, you're also praying to Lord Krishna. This is not what this verse says, isn't it? We need to pray directly to Lord Krishna only. But then we were told that Durgama is the material energy of Lord Krishna, so we should also pray to her. So it's kind of confusing, although we know that we should pray to Lord Krishna only. Do we then not respect or pray to Durgama? So
No, it's never said in any of the scriptures. In fact, to the contrary, the Lord says we should respect the demigods. But we don't offer our primary worship to the demigods. We see everything in context. Krishna himself says, why would you worship the demigods? Because you want to please them. But know it for sure that if you worship me, the demigods are automatically pleased. And Bhagavatam gives the example, you can water the leaf of the tree or the twigs or the branches, or you can water the root. If you pour the water in the root, automatically the leaves and the branches and the twigs are all being nourished. It is just a matter of following Krishna. Krishna is said, this is how it's done. So we follow Krishna. There's no need to doubt or to ponder or, to think, is this right? Is this wrong? Krishna is saying very clear, you worship me. Everything is taken care of. And it's not that if we worship Krishna exclusively and not worship the demigods, the demigods will become angry. Well, there was one instance where that happened that we are aware of. Lord Indra, he became upset that they were worshipping, Govardhan, and he became angry. But we should just have confidence, Mataji. This is what Krishna says, how it should be done, and we do it. Like the residents of Vrindavan, it is said we should follow in the footsteps of the great devotees. Krishna told them, you should do it like this. Don't worship Indra. Do it like this. Immediately he said, yes, Krishna. If that's what you say, that's how we'll do it.
okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Just something I didn't understand is why the Kumaras did not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Was it because what he spoke was very kind and humility, or was it something that was going over the poor Kumara's head and it could not make out what Krishna was trying to tell? Did they think that they were at fault, that Krishna was praising them?
No, they just, it's the nature of the Lord's. Prabhupada says something very significant. Prabhupada says the words of the Lord, the speech of the Lord, is not different from the Lord. So in the same way, it is very, very difficult for anybody to understand the Lord. So in the same way, the Kumaras, they just couldn't understand, the way he was speaking. Genuinely, they couldn't understand. They all they could see that the Lord was being very humble, and he was being merciful to them. But how he was really feeling about it, them cursing his servants, they couldn't figure that out. They couldn't. That's just the nature of the Lord. Nobody could understand. If Krishna was to personally come and speak to us today, now, and also coupled with that is, the experience of having the darshan of the Lord, the experience of hearing him, put them in transcendental ecstasy. And when they were feeling that ecstasy, ecstasy confuses you. They couldn't.
I was just thinking, what would happen if Krishna, as you say, Krishna came before me here now? What would you do? What would I do? Don't know. He would say, ask for anything. I don't know what to ask for him. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I just before today's class, that's why I was late. There is a Baba from Vrindavan, and he's a very, very advanced devotee. He is the pujari of Raj Mohan, Radha Raj Mohan. Radha Raj Mohan was the deity of Narottam Das Thakur, and the Baba was just telling us how, he was in a perplexed situation. He didn't know how to worship Raj Mohan. So Raj Mohan came and personally towards him and touched him on the head. And this is someone, I just came, anyway, heard it from his own mouth about 45 minutes ago. And he was saying, after he got touched by Raj Mohan, he was just crying uncontrollably. And for days he couldn't stop crying. He was like cooking, he was crying, doing the arti, he was crying. It was such a phenomenal experience of having the darshan of the Lord. And this is, I say contemporary, he's not our contemporary, but he's like now with us.
Wow. Wow,
So
amazing.
it's amazing.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Once I had this experience. I was asking Pankaj Jangri Prabhu. Krishna. I asked Pankaj Jangri Prabhu. It is said that Lord Krishna came to give us prema. He came to freely give us prema. But we're not experiencing this free giving of prema. We are like working so hard to try to get prema. But yet it is said Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and freely gave prema. Then he gave an example. He said, the lioness's milk. The milk of a lioness is so powerful that unless you have the right container to hold it, the container will just dissolve. So he said, in the same way, we are not able to experience, to hold the prema that the Lord is giving. So our whole process of what we are doing, the whole process is to make ourselves a suitable container to hold the prema. Because that prema is so powerful. Just like the Malayan lessons milk is so powerful. I thought I'd just share that. Hare Krishna.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Oh,
Anyone else? Any comments, reflections before we close? Thank you very much. Anyone? Someone unmuted?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. This
Hare
might
Krishna.
sound so silly. It's just a thought that if the Kumaras didn't understand Sri Krishna, we are the conditioned and fallen soul. How are we supposed to understand him? That's my question. It's very difficult to understand for the Kumaras. So we stand no chance. Even if he was in front of us, how would we know that he is in front of us?
Srila Prabhupada answered that question. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim. By the mercy of the spiritual master. If the spiritual master is pleased with us, everything will get revealed. Therefore, I often say that Prabhupada once asked, what is the most important verse in all of the Shastras? I've said this a few times. Who can remember? What is the most important verse in all of the Shastras? What did Prabhupada say? I mentioned this a few times.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for a brilliant class. Is it Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vrajam Aham Tam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayashyami Ma Shuchaha.
No, Mataji, that's a good verse, but it wasn't what Prabhupada said. This would be the most important verse in all of the Shastras. Anyone else can remember? I'm sure in previous classes I said this. Anyway, I said, Yasya deve para bhakti yatha deve tata guru tasyaiti iti katita prakashante hi mahatmanaha. Anyone knows the translation of this verse? Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in the spiritual master and the Lord is all the import of the Vedic scriptures revealed. It gets revealed. The whole process gets revealed. Yasya deve para bhakti yata deve tata guru tasyaiti katita prakashante hi mahatmanaha. Remember that, dear devotees. That's what Prabhupada said. It is quite instructive why Prabhupada said that. Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we'll close here. Thank you very much for your attentive listening and your participation. All glories to your service. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitanam
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Ananta
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Excellent class.
Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
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 Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.